Hello, and welcome to part 13 of Povop, where today there is a pretty major project I would like to complete, and that would be our highway. Except a couple more zoning tiles are needed, including these 4, so I'm just gonna purchase those now. What else I'll do is pay back $300,000 in loans, and start leveling our terrain. Except there's a little bit of a problem there because I don't own that zoning tile and it just clips the edge. But we should be able to get around that by just doing this temporarily. And really, I don't think that should be an issue because we do have to turn the highway a bit. And this is where it's going to get a little tricky. The terrain over here is not perfectly flat, but I do want it to be flat because we are trying to build a city here. So I'm going to take a level of terrain that's in the middle of everything and flatten it like this. Yeah, that whole roundabout idea was pretty bad. And I know I didn't talk much when I did this, but I basically just continued the grid from over here. Yeah, but also not really. And I lowered it to a lower elevation, put some highways above so we can connect up to here, and I do definitely want to have separate one-lane roads going this way. Now, while I've been spending time building this area, I noticed we have $1.8 million in the bank, which means we have $1.8 million to pay off our loan. Now, I have intentionally kept the game on 3 times speed just so we can make more money, but I think it will work out very nicely. Now, I know this is a pretty interesting intersection for a number of reasons, including the fact that the exit is on the left hand, it moves into a middle area, and then goes around a roundabout. I figured it would be much better than some other system where there's so many exits and it just takes up so much space. So seeing as it's a city, I thought it would make sense to put it in the middle instead. And as a benefit, it only takes up 2 blocks instead of maybe even 4. I'm also realizing a pretty terrible mistake I made. Although I did keep the grids on the same angle, the grid is absolutely nowhere near the same actual grid. So this right here might be something we actually revisit later. What we are going to do now though is unlock these zone tiles, except we don't quite have enough money, so we are going to take out a little bit of our loan. And unfortunately for now, this whole intersection will have to go. And with the original highway repaired, we can finally start developing the intersection. And for the actual intersection, I think a classic cloverleaf would make most sense. But again, we have plenty of money to pay off our loans, so I'm going to do exactly that. And there we go, our first leaf has been added. But once again though, we have plenty of money to repay our loan. And before I start on the third cloverleaf, I just want to look at this intersection. As we can see, people are already using it and heading to bigger highway over here, which by the way, is also getting used. And here we go. Our cloverleaf intersection has been completed, except for the fact that we still need to connect these highways, which means we need to purchase more zoning tiles. Additionally, just because we have a ton of money left over, we should pay off our loan. And now the intersection is truly done. And already we can see there are quite a few vehicles using it. Well, I'm not sure how I missed this, but somehow 3 buildings burned down, and I'm sure it was all related. So we really have no choice but to rebuild them. And as we can see, this building was destroyed by a forest fire, which I guess does make sense because there are quite a few trees around the area, which now actually makes me want to unlock the fire station. And that building is going to go right here. Except I did build the wrong one. And now we should have adequate fire and rescue services. Except we still have a problem where there is no disaster response units. And if we want any, we're going to have to spend somewhere in the millions. But I believe it is a worth it investment. Now, something else I want to do now that we have money and much of our loan paid off is once again reevaluate service budgets. Roads should be increased, electricity is fine, water is fine, healthcare is fine, garbage is fine, education deserves a bump, fire rescue needs a bump, police is fine, transportation is fine, parks and recreation are fine, communications is fine, and landscaping is not a choice. And now that fire engines are being dispatched to the disaster, we should be able to rebuild these buildings soon. That does make me want to move the other fire station we just built, and I'll move that into the main part of the city over here. I'll select operating districts, and just because this is an important area, I am going to add the helicopter. And then our original firehouse should be relocated to over here. So what I'll do now is actually add this area as this fire station's district. And now I'm going to rebuild these depots, and the hospital too. Now luckily in the time being, I believe this hospital was able to pick up the slack from all the way over here, which was very good and proves that our hospital system is relatively okay, at least when the buildings don't burn down. Also, I do want to change the color of the hospital, and I think the green looks very nice. Now I am seeing a problem here with this intersection, which I think needs a change. The roundabout probably is not needed. I don't even think a stop sign is needed, as there probably wouldn't be any traffic to begin with if there wasn't that slowdown. And as we can see, except for service vehicles stopping the road and slowing down traffic, the intersections are pretty much clear all the time. Now there are a couple of things I would like to do to the highway still, and the first is running a train rail beside it. and the rest can be finished at a later date, but for now it is completely connected up. The second thing I like to do to highways is add windmills in between. Usually I like to do it just because it looks very nice in my opinion, and also just makes sense because a highway already has lots of noise pollution. And also, luckily for us, the area has a fair amount of wind speed. Now all we have to do is add lights along the highway, and then just add a line. Also, I like to add a couple of batteries. And now what I would like to do is build some sort of downtown for these suburbs. And over here is pretty much the best piece of land we have. It is almost completely flat except for the recessed highway, and as we can see down here is about 183 meters, and up here is 193, which is a completely fair level difference. But I think it is also completely fair to do this. So now I'm just going to start laying out the grid. And currently I think this grid looks pretty nice. I don't think it's too cookie cutter, and it also has some personality to it, and of course it will also be functional. Now something I'm noticing a lot of is these moose crossing the road and moose in this whole general area. I'm not sure if it's a game feature where cars can hit moose, but if it is, there's going to be a lot of moose related accidents. On a side note, we have quite a bit of money, so we should pay back quite a bit of our loan. And now all I have to do is in the future fix the train. What else I'm going to do is add these ramps to be 2 lanes when getting off, and also while getting on, just so the roundabout makes sense. Also, I'd like to make sure the large main part of the highway has lights along it. And of course the off-ramps too. And with the water pipes connected, we can finally start zoning. And to start off in the area, I think a couple of signature buildings would go a long way. So first we'll be placing the Heath Pub, and on the corner I think that looks pretty nice. Next I think the trash bin office would look pretty nice, and I'm sure people would love to do some shopping. But not me, I think it looks pretty bad. And last but not least, a gas station would probably be helpful to the area, mainly because this is more of a downtown, not a main city. And also I think a couple of other offices would be good too. And now I'm gonna start zoning in housing. And now we have the first few houses put in. And with that done, I'd like to add a few amenities. There's even more mooses. This isn't good. But as you can see, our first French offices have zoned in, and it looks pretty good. It looks a little obscure on its own, but once it has some buildings around it, I think it will be pretty great. And I think just one high density building would be okay for this area. And of course, trees would only make it better. And I think the houses are looking nice as they're starting to pop up, but we are still waiting on the medium density and this one low density house there. And also I think a park here and there would go a long way. Also I think a traffic light is necessary because traffic is backing up way too far. Also an additional lane for cars that aren't turning that direction would help. And this little block I think looks very nice, and I think it feels a little European, and definitely more European than my other cities. But for now I'd like to experiment with even more kinds of UK housing. And as you can see, this other block has zoned in too. And especially this house I think looks really great. Also, the semi-detached homes look really good too. And our awkward block of offices has finished zoning in too. I do have to say, a lot of detail was put into these UK assets. The only thing is though, there's not a ton of them and they all look pretty much identical. But that's not going to stop me from using them. But this area is definitely going to need a high school and elementary school. So I'm going to break this road and then I'll place the UK suburban primary school. I think immediately I'm going to add the extra classrooms and of course I'll assign its district. And now we need a high school. The only problem is with this high school, the UK high school, is that it is way too large for our purposes. So I think we can go with the much better option of this northeastern high school. It can also be upgraded with extension wings, so I think we can do that right off of the bat. And of course, we'll assign a district. And another problem is that our colleges are filling up. The easiest solution is to upgrade this college, but we still do have to build another. And while I could build one over here, I think this new area deserves its attention. And actually, I changed my mind on this high school. Just because we already have some French assets in the area, I think it only makes sense to go with the much more compact French high school. Of course, it can also be upgraded with more student capacity, but for now we'll hold off. And again, though, to make the area look much nicer, I am going to add more trees. Now I'm going to continue adding more homes. And honestly, this might be the craziest demand bar ever. There is zero demand for low density, but plenty for medium and high density. And there we go. I think this is the best solution for an area like this to have houses around it. Now there is only one more change I would like to make before we end the video. This elementary school feels super out of place to me. It feels so wrong that everything else seems to be more high density and it just is way too small and way too large. And instead I'd like to replace it with a building that fits in better. Now I'm gonna place a road here, and now we can start adding homes. And there we go. I think that is a much better use of space, especially because we can increase the capacity step. So I will assign a district and also do the same to the high school. And honestly, I think this area is looking great. Although it is a lot of low density housing, it does house so many people in each building. Usually at least. 8 people in this building isn't too bad. And also, it's created a lot of jobs with offices. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I really appreciate you watching, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comments. In the meantime, have yourself a great day.